Yo, yo, get up, nah I ain't a quitter. Toss me the ball, I'm a really big hitter. Big picture, I'm a straight killer. Rising the song to the highest bidder. Got juice, got gas, I'ma move fast. New shoes, new tracks, like who's that? I'm new, come back, better than last. Yeah, it's a new me, never gonna look back. Never gonna look back. Cause damn, I was built to last. You move slow and I move fast. And that's facts.
Welcome to the Chicago Sports Podcast. Thank you guys so much for tuning us in tonight. Monsters of the Madhouse. Perfect way to begin the weekend. There's never a bad time to talk about our Chicago Bears. And that is why we appreciate you all so much. Thank you. I'm Matt Cooper. I got Keds the Canuck with us tonight for the first time, man. We were just talking before, knowing each other here for a couple of minutes. Dude, it's good to have you on.
Thank you very much, sir. Much appreciated. Good to be here. Good to be with my guy, Country Santa, right next to me, too.
Country Santa. Brian, you didn't tell me that. You didn't tell me you had yourself a nickname the little time we've known each other.
Yeah, I got several. That's the thing with this beard. I mean, I can shave it, and then by Monday it's back. So I got to, with my looks changing like they do, and the post office keeps updating pictures. I got to change names. I got to change looks. Yeah.
I guess that gets harder then. The older you get, they got all these things you got to start lining up. Stuff that we could all look forward to, right, Brian?
Well, and the tricky part is just trying to remember.
Ooh. Well, we want to get to that part. So, but next time, Brian, just don't hide anything from me anymore, all right? So when these nicknames start popping up, you got to start telling me this.
Fair enough.
We'll talk about this off the air. So, thank you guys. You guys can share this video with all your friends. If you got your friends that are diehard Bears fans, share this video and let them know about Monsters of the Madhouse Chicago Sports Podcast. Getting ready here for free agency too, guys, which starts on Monday. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on. And a lot of crazy stuff going on with the Bears right now. We had some big trades this week. We also had to say goodbye to a couple of people. And there's one in particular of a man that we're saying goodbye to, a man that is local, a man that I could honestly say that, and you guys could probably back me up on this too, a fan favorite for the Bears, and that is Jack Sanborn. Why does it suck losing Sanborn? As we heard earlier this week, Jeremy Fowler of ESPN reporting that they are not going to tender him. So that would create a space of $3.263 million, a man that I always enjoyed watching play, a man that I thought gave it his all every time you watched him play. And you know what's interesting about this? And Brian, we were kind of talking about this because he was very impressive his first couple of seasons with the Bears. He had little over 60 tackles his rookie season. He started all 17 games, 2023, and that's when Edmonds and Edwards, that's when their rebuild was really starting to go on, and they started bringing in some of the linebackers. But what was interesting to me is the 3 starts last year. So he went from starting 17 games into starting 3 games last year, but he also played a lot of snaps. To your credit, Brian, saying that he played a lot of snaps. So when you start thinking of Jack Sanborn and his career with the Bears, Brian, I'll start with you. And we talk about his snaps and the way he played last year. What stands out to you?
Somebody that's not the most gifted, but he has heart and he plays cerebral, meaning that he's almost got a sixth sense. Even though he may be limited physically, he almost can sniff out a play before it happens, and that's what puts him kind of the head of the game. And having guys that have all the ability in the world is wonderful, but having that person that has to fight for their playing time each snap, that has that dog in them, I'll take that every time. To me, you need that at every position. And it's just, like I said, him being a local boy, didn't get drafted, and being a hard-nosed player, it's just an easy person to root for. Kids?
Yeah, so that's what happens when me and Brian get on a show together. Brian eats all the meat off the bone, and then I got a stick handle. So
take a look at him. He looks like he could afford to miss a meal or two.
You're darn straight I could, but here we go. So if we're talking about Sanborn, look, Sangod is one of my favorite players on the team. Unfortunately, I kind of saw this coming. We're really stout at linebacker, to be frank with you guys, and that's kind of where we are. They can't pay for everybody to hang out. Sanborn would have received would have expected a decent bump in salary at this point in his career. I think he's shown out quite well. You're bang on, Coop. He's got 59 tackles in 2022 and in 2023. Pretty solid across the board. Always involved. If he's on the field, he's involved in the play, and that's what you got. Like, that's what I love about the guy. Fact is, we've got TJ Edwards, and like TJ's not a Sam. Like this we're talking about a Sam. TJ is just as impactful, if not a heck of a lot more. And then you lean towards towards Edmonds as well. Although my beef is Edmonds is nowhere near as impactful as those other two guys I just mentioned. Sorry, sorry, but it's just the facts of the matter. In any event, I'm going to miss Sanborn for sure. That impactfulness that he brings to the table, that hunger he brings to the field, is going to be a little bit missed, I have to say. So, shout outs to Jack Sanborn wherever he winds up. I know whatever team he's on, he's going to make an impact for sure.
It's funny you bring up the linebackers, the other linebackers, Edwards. I feel not Edwards, but Edmonds. Some of our past shows on Friday nights, I feel like he's been a hot topic name when you start talking about Bears and guys that could go forward with. But I digress just a little bit. I think the reason is too. Here's another thing, guys. Listen, Jack Sanborn. We were kind of talking a little bit about this before we jumped on tonight too. You love the story of the undrafted free agent. Anytime you get the story of an undrafted free agent coming in and making an impact, I don't care what team that person is on. That's a guy you always cheer for, because that's a guy that's doing everything he can to bust his ass to try to get in the NFL. And that story alone is something you cheer for. But at the same time, he's from Chicago, the area. He grew up in Deer Park, went to Lake Zurich High School. And not only that, played his college ball at Wisconsin, which is a school that a lot of players dream to play for, especially if you're a Big Ten fan. And that's one of the schools, and it's a rich football history. And you go from that to that, and then you come to your hometown of the Bears, and you can only imagine what it was like for him to play those couple of years there with the fans, the family and friends and everybody that grew up in that area and all those areas coming out for all of those games. So that's something I think at the same time, when you're undrafted and you put together that type of career, you got all that pressure on you, but that's a lot of stuff that you're going to miss. I don't care what other team you go to. You have all that stuff coming in with you. You got to go start over again, which I think would be very difficult to do, Cats. But that's something you're going to cheer for wherever he goes next.
That's a fact. And wherever he's going to go, likely not going to be Illinois or Chicago. So it'll be a whole new, right? It's going to be a whole new realm of like, now I'm thinking, like, if you went to school in Wisconsin, you might wind up in green and yellow. That would not be the craziest thing in the world. I hate to put it out there, folks, but yeah, you know what I mean? But, hopefully that's not where he winds up. That being the case, again, kid's going to be impactful no matter where he goes. I really wish one thing, though. I wish the Bears would develop these guys and actually get capital when they do, right? Gain some level of capital back for a player like this. I think Jack is really solid. I think the world needs linebackers, and he's gonna do the darn thing for somebody out there.
When you say capital, are you talking about compensatory picks?
No, I'm talking about trade these players that you're
trade capital. Yes,
develop somebody, trade them, get something back for the development of these players. Right? We're too quick to just cut bait and let them see free agency without getting anything from these. Like, when was the last time Chicago actually developed somebody and trade? Okay, Roquan Smith is probably the answer to that, but that's about it. Like, you know what I mean?
I'll tell you the answer to your question. How many coaches have lasted more than 4 years in the past 20 years?
That is true too, because development is a major question mark right here with the Bears, right? And I have a feeling that that's about to shift, that's about to change, especially on the offensive side of the ball. And why I say that is they just got a couple of vets now, right? They got a couple of Pro Bowlers. Hopefully those guys can start to trickle down and help develop the younger guys that they've drafted as they move forward. But we'll see if the same type of thing happens on the defensive side.
he talked about me not leaving any meat on the bone. He not only chewed up the bone, he licked the plate too. There is nothing but a
Ooh.
wash towel for me.
That does tend to happen sometimes. So there is that.
There's gonna be some. There's gonna our post game show is gonna be very interesting tonight. But I might be staying out of that one though for a little bit.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be a prelude to WrestleMania. I can tell you that.
Thank you guys all in the chat room tonight here. Monsters at the Madhouse. Please go ahead and share this video with all of your Bears friends. We appreciate you guys' support. Like and subscribe on our YouTube page, our YouTube channel, and get all the notifications when all of our new shows pop up. You know, guys, I was looking at the chat here. We're talking about Jack Sanborn, how much it sucks that we're going to be losing him. And thank you guys. I see you guys in here too. But I was just looking at Zach's comment here a second ago because it's something I was actually thinking about right before he made the comment here. I'm going to pull it back up. He said, because we were talking about Sanborn, couldn't make special teams. He played good, which I agree with that. Could you keep him around for $2 million a year? Because I was thinking about that after we released him, because it's going to be about $3.263 million. But is there an opportunity? He goes out there, he sees his market. Is there an opportunity that he could come back at a lower price to the Bears' needs? I don't think so. I still think he's going to go out there and make his money, but is that a possibility?
So, Brian, before I eat all the meat off this one, I'm gonna throw it over to you first, brother.
Gee, thanks, because I'm putting another hole in my belt to hold my pants up.
Another hole.
I didn't say which end.
Okay, I just said another hole. I just heard hole, man. That's all I heard.
No, seriously, I think there's a very good possibility. I kind of think this is the reason why they didn't tender his contract, is to give him as an appreciation. Hey, let's see what the rest of the league. We think your value is this. Him and his agent think their value is something else. Let's see what the league says, and maybe we could, reach a compromise. I think that's very likely because what we just talked about, the guy was born and raised in this area. He was a Bears fan, went to school in this area. I mean, he's basically, I don't have a map in front of me, but I'll say within 100-mile radius of where he was born and raised, where he went to school, and where his favorite team and the team he plays for. That could come into play where he gives a little bit of a discount. At the same time, he's like every single one of us that has a job. You want to make every single extra cent that you can without, hurting yourself. So, yeah, I think it's a very strong possibility. All right, kids, now it's your turn.
All right, you didn't eat off the bone on this one. I'll be frank with you because I actually completely disagree. I don't. You made some really good points though, that I hadn't considered. The reasons why I disagree is twofold. Reason number one, Eamon Ogbongbemiga. Say that 3 times fast.
I can't say it one time fast.
Amen. We're glad you said that.
No problem. I practiced and it worked out. It comes out. It rolls right off the tongue at this point. In any event, he really stood out last season in a very big way, as well as on special teams, which was mentioned there in the chat a minute ago. Jack really didn't do the special teams thing. Well, Amen does. And he's usually that guy who gets them tackles if it ain't Daniel Hardy. Both of them bring, they bring a lot to the special teams realm, as well as when they play linebacker. Eamon was all over the place when he got the opportunity. So what I'm looking at here at this point is they got another young UFDA. They re-signed Eamon. He's going to be their guy as opposed to Jack this time around, and I believe he fits Dennis Allen's style of player a bit better. There's another guy on the team that actually does too, and that other guy would be Noah Sewell. I have a special place in my heart for Eamon Ogbongbemiga. I do not for Noah Sewell because he does not bring the special teams value that we just described, and he had a heck of a hard time just getting on the field over the course of the last couple of years. Mind you, they spent draft capital to get him. They drafted him. And this is the difference between Eamon, Jack Sanborn, and Noah Sewell. So at some point, they're going to want to look at Noah Sewell and go, we spent money, we spent capital to bring you in. Are you worth that capital? Or do we, let's give you at least the opportunity to show us that you are. So I think that's where we are as Bears fans across the board. Again, unfortunate to see Jack go. The upside is, hey, Aunt Mass, what's cracking? The upside is, right, they get to They get to see what they got in Noah Sewell, and they get to see what they got in Amassed Agbagbamiga.
Well, as far as Sewell, he hadn't showed squat in the past 2 years. Now,
Not a
granted, he's been injured. If I'm looking at college tape and their measurables, yeah, I'm going with Sewell. If I'm looking at NFL production, it's Sanborn, and it's not even close.
Mhm. Well,
And real quick, to take in what you just said, granted, Sewell is a Ryan Poles pick, but he's not this coaching staff pick.
that is a good. Well, here's where that becomes interesting. If you look at measurables for the players that have played in that role, that Sam role for Dennis Allen, they look, smell, and feel a heck of a lot like Noah Sewell. All right, so I'm going to have to put that out there. He's definitely a quote unquote fit on paper. The question is, can we move him off the paper and onto the actual football field and see something work? Because, yeah, I'm with you, Brian. I haven't seen anything happen with Noah Sewell, so I'm not all that stoked. What up, Crooked?
It's a good point you bring up, too, and something to keep in mind as our moves are happening right now, and free agency begins on Monday. This is a whole new coaching staff. Yes, Ryan Poles and the general manager, he had these picks before, but what's happening right now, Jack Sanborn, who we all like a lot here, also, at the same time, as we're talking about money, this could also might not be a fit in Dennis Allen. Maybe he looked at him and said, maybe this is not a fit for what I'm looking for, and I'm trying to find something else that we could get in the draft, which brings me to my next question as we talk about Sanborn and the possibility. Well, it looks like he's gone. What do we do to replace him? Now, Keds, we were talking about this earlier, that it's already on, or maybe Brian, it was you that were talking about this earlier, where it's already on the roster.
It was you and I.
Yeah, it was me and you. Okay, yeah, you're talking about how you already think he's been replaced.
Oh, they picked up that special teams guy from Kansas City, Swayze Bozeman.
Yeah.
Bozeman, yeah.
He's supposed to be like a special teams ace. I don't know what he brings to the table as far as actually starting, or at linebacker. But as far as specialty, if you're talking your fifth or sixth linebacker, they usually are your special teams guy.
Well, I think you just kind of nailed it right there, right? So I think the Swayze Bozeman move is probably to have him actually do just what you said. Focus on special teams. You're going to be a special teams whiz. They're probably actually going to, because they just signed Amassed Agbagbamiga. Right?
Yes.
So he's actually gone through through being retained. And in that respect, I think they're going to give him a shot to play and fill the quote unquote Jack Sanborn role if Noah Sewell does not show up. And I think Noah Sewell is going to be given full carte blanche and an opportunity to do exactly that. But, as the three of us have pretty much noticed, absolutely nothing. Nothing's gone on with Noah Sewell that has been positive as far as being on the football. He was a healthy scratch more frequently last season than he was actually active on the field. So that being the case, I think it's Amon's job to lose, and hopefully, maybe, potentially, Noah Sewell may rise to the occasion.
It's funny you say that, because I was just thinking, I'm like, how many games was he a healthy scratch last year, Noah Sewell?
A bunch.
It was quite a bit, wasn't it? And as we're sitting here talking about a replacement and who we think is going to step up, which we still have a lot left here, too. As free agency starts on Monday, too, we're talking about Jack Sanborn, how much it sucks that we're losing our guy here from Chicago, Jack Sanborn. Thank you guys all in the chat, too. I see Atmos. I see James Childress in there, Clip Victoria.
Hey, Cliff.
Brandon's in there. What's up, guys? Dude, thank you guys spending our Friday night with us tonight, man, talking about the Bears, talking about the NFL. And you guys could like and subscribe on our YouTube page as well, and you get all the notifications on our shows, as well as sharing our video, and to all of your other diehard Bears friends. It's funny, I was thinking about this today, guys. Before I get your predictions on what you think is going to happen with Jack Sanborn, there's always a couple of players that we think about in our lifetime that, whether they're star players, whether they're just average players, or players that you grow to love, that you feel, that somebody you feel every time you watch on Sundays that you cheer for. We all have a couple of them. And like when you start thinking, when it starts coming to your mind, and you guys can comment in the chat too, who you think about some of the players that you were pissed off or that got away or that we traded away that would upset you. I would say maybe over the last 10 years. For me, the first one I think of is Roquan Smith, and I get it. I understand why they traded him. You were in that rebuild, you were losing that year. He wanted to go to a winning team. He wanted to get paid. But I'm like, I hope people don't underestimate how good this guy is and how good of a linebacker this guy is. And maybe he just needs to be in a winning environment. And we have seen that in Baltimore here the last couple of years. You hear the Ravens players talk about him. You see his production. They wouldn't be anywhere without that guy. He's been really, really good. And that's the first guy that comes to my mind. Is there anything that comes to your guys' mind, a certain player that you can think of that got away, that we traded or we didn't want to sign and went on somewhere else to perform very well?
There's
Okay,
a list.
I'm going to take.
Do it. Go for it.
I'm going to take the easy way. I'm going to take the easy way out. I can't think of a single player. I'm just more baffled, confused, frustrated, PO'd, whatever, that it seems like when we get a player, we can either sign or trade for a player that was, damn near ready to be fitted for the gold jacket. And when they come to Chicago, they're either injured or they suck wind, or we get a player doesn't do anything, goes to another team, and he too gets fitted for the gold jacket. Why in the hell can we either make good picks, good trades, and more important, develop players? Okay, Cats, now
I can't because you hit the nail on the head, bro. Right across the board. I will actually answer the direct question though. Roquan Smith's he's a great example. There's so many of them. Alshon Jeffrey's an example of this, where he definitely left the team, wound up in a better situation, and won a Super Bowl. Like, he's just an easy, quick example. Another one more recently, and I'll give you sort of the up and the down. One would be Nick Kwiatkowski. Very similar to the Jackson. Like, as soon as I heard this happen with Jack, I was like, damn. And it just immediately reminded me of the Nick Kwiatkowski situation. The downside is he didn't really turn out. He's like one of the few guys who didn't really like show up after going out and finding his own personal level of success. Went to the Raiders. Things didn't go great. And he's out there, I believe, in free agency at this time too. But another guy to think about would be Roy Robertson Harris. And why I bring up Roy Rob is I can actually see a potential, connection, a reunited and it feels so good situation with Roy Rob, maybe, right? Like, we definitely need some help in the trenches. I don't think he's going to command an extreme amount of money. He's played really well over the course of the last couple seasons as a rotational piece. I think Roy Rob might be a fantastic guy to bring back to Chicago. But Cooper, I know exactly how you feel. So does Brian. It happens way too frequently.
There's two as we're sitting here talking, I was just coming across a couple, because there's a lot of names that have left the Bears that have gone on and have good careers. Obviously David Montgomery would be another one who I was always a big fan. That's another guy I said don't underestimate how good he is, because I thought he played very well, especially on some bad football teams that we had those years. But who's another guy that I think had a pretty solid career after he left us was Charles Leno. Remember Charles Leno that we had as a tackle? And then he goes to Washington. I thought he was on Washington for a couple of years and listen, I'm not going to say he was one of the top 5 best tackles in the league.
You're not wrong.
He was, to me, a lot better than I thought. He was a solid player for them. I'm like, how does that happen? How does a guy like that leave us, who underachieved, let's be honest, and he goes there and he has a successful career?
So James Daniels is another great, you know what I mean? He's a great example. Charles Leno, though, man, like, Charles Leno was first off, I believe he was a 7th round pick. Should not have been the starting left tackle. Worked his way into a massive contract, which means he played solid football for a very long time. The second pen went to paper, he got on his knees, asked his wife to marry him, and forgot how to play football for 3 years. Like, that was basically what happened.
Right. Don't that sound familiar? Get married and life goes. But that's another
I
story.
can't
Story.
relate.
Story. Thank you. Story of all three of our lives. Apparently, I was just gonna say, yeah, like that's what happened to Charles Leno right after he got out of Chicago, and they were finally like, dude, like you're stinking up the left side of the field in a major way. He goes to Washington he's reinvigorated. He's back to being the guy that he was 3 years before. Works himself into an even bigger contract. I don't know. Like, I wish I could really tear down Charles Leno. He had a fantastic long career, and one more time, he was a 7th-round pick. Odds are he probably shouldn't have been starting at left tackle anyways. But there he was. 40 plus million. I bet you he's made over $100 million in the NFL. Crazy.
We got the chat room all coming in on Charles Leno. That is surprising. Leno's last year with the Bears, he was always on the ground.
He was.
I think that's so true.
He was. What was it? The Walrus? We're calling him Walrus because he was just flopping around on the ground 90% of the time. It was a really bad showing that season with Mitch Trubisky, that final season, and they had to do something about it. And the something was, dude, we're paying you way too much money. You need to go. I think they saved like $27 million cutting him when they cut him. It was like a massive savings. Mm-hmm. But it all this whole conversation all goes right back to, so you develop a 7th-round talent into a starting left tackle in the NFL, and you get nothing for him. Like, imagine that. And this is a story with David Montgomery. It's the same story with Charles Leno. Same story with James Daniels. The list is astronomically long. Whereas other teams turn around, they develop a talent. If they don't want to pay him, like Trey Hendrickson has it, for instance, he moves on and he actually generates capital for them to build their team with. I don't know why Chicago can't do that, but I think maybe Brian, maybe you're right, man. It's just the fact that these coaches are never around long enough to really, put their foot down and develop correctly. But in all those cases, I think all of those guys were developed well.
I don't know. The deal with Leno, did he do that great, or was he just starting out of necessity because they didn't have anything better?
Well,
you have a mop handle. You had Charles Leno.
Yeah,
a little bit of both.
Yeah, I think you're a little bit. I think you're onto something there, Brian. When you look back at that too, yeah, that can be that, and could have been better coaching too. You go off to Washington. What was Ron Rivera was his head coach, the head coach at the time when he was there. So, you put all that together. I mean, there's factors and everything. I always think these games are so much fun because this can happen with any one of your favorite teams. It doesn't just have to be the Bears, but you look back at any one of your favorite teams, and you could always look at some of them players and like, man, how did that one get away like that? So I was like, I thought it'd be fun to play that game with everybody tonight to see, as we look at Jack Sanborn, because there's a lot of players that we can compare that to. So we thank you guys as we wrap things up here with Jack Sanborn. Prediction, what do you think is going to happen with him? I see people talking about he might have that reunion with the Cowboys and Matt Eberflus down in Dallas. I don't know if that's going to be the case. I don't know. Is his playing time got lost a little bit last year? Was that part of him? Was that part of his scheme? I have no idea. But there's other teams, there's other ready-made teams, playoff-ready teams like the Ravens that are always really good at taking players like this that they can plug and play and put on special teams that I think would be a good fit for. So is there any teams, you guys have any predictions, do you think where he'll end up? I know, Kedge, you were talking a second ago, bringing up the Wisconsin in the Wisconsin where he played at Wisconsin. Could he be a Packer? I was like, you had everybody's eyes lighting up when you said that.
I'm sorry. I have
no problem. Like, whoa.
It was mostly rooted in the fact that that's where he went. He went to school there, so potentially, maybe, possibly, yeah. Do I want him to go there? Absolutely not. I would see in these scenarios where you cut somebody, you have no control over where they go, and that's the other piece to this thing, right? If it's a trade, at least you can determine, you kick this guy over to the AFC, right? Like that's just a more beneficial situation. Right now, yeah, he could be a Packer, and I don't see. And like I'm saying that out loud, but he could be a Lion, he could be a Viking, all just the same. Because again, we have no control over where Jack Sanborn winds up. But the prediction I would make is he'll probably wind up with the Raiders. That's my prediction.
If I'm being a smart aleck, I'm saying he's going to land at Atlanta because that seems where all
All right,
ex-Bears go.
pace. But he's not a pace guy, though, right? Is he a pace guy? Wait,
Well,
no,
No.
he is a
see,
pace
that's
guy.
where
He's a pace guy.
Is he a pace guy? I thought he was a polls guy. Didn't he come in 2020?
I think he is a polls guy, but see, this could be the ghost that scares Pace. And hey, I should have got this guy. I would have got him if I would have drafted him if I would have still the GM of the Bears. But in all honesty, yeah, as scary as it sounds, one of the other three NFC North teams is a logical choice.
Jack Sanborn was a polls guy, by the way, 2022.
He
so
was a
that
polls guy. I'm looking
I thought so. I was
2022
like,
as well.
I don't think it goes back that far as being a pace guy. It's like I knew he came in recently over the last couple of years. So no, it was a polls guy. But again, to what we were saying, it's a whole new coaching staff. So as it goes in and out and figure out who they want, who they don't want. That's why it's going to be such an interesting offseason when you have a general manager that remains on the team and you got a whole new coaching staff and how everybody's going to work up together and see what they do. So it's going to be interesting to see, guys. And we're excited to see that. Thank you guys for watching tonight, Monsters of the Madhouse Chicago Sports Podcast. It's been so much fun with Keds, the Canuck, and very first time, man, dude, it's been so much fun hanging out with you tonight, man. Nice to meet you.
Appreciate it, and always fun to hang out with my guy Brian, Mr. Brian, that is. Great to meet you, Coop, and great hanging out. Glad we had the ability to chop it up and talk a little bit about our favorite team, and more importantly, the departure of Jack Sanborn. We also got to talk about the signing of Eamon Ogbongbemiga, and I'm just going to say I think Eamon's going to I think he's going to fill them shoes in a major way. That's just me. I thought he played, especially on special teams last year. We really got to see him be impactful. I think that's going to translate into that Sam role, and we'll see what happens with Noah Sewell. That being said, shout outs to my folks out there in the chat. Mr. Shorty's out there. Big ups to you. Big ups to Cliff Victoria, Crooked Commish. Good to see all you guys out there. Bear down.
Yeah, thank you guys. Brian, too, man. It's good. Always good to see you, man. I always love talking to you. Love talking Bears with you, man.
I appreciate that, and ditto.
All right, guys. So thank you guys for watching. You can share this video with your friends. Tell all of your Bears friends about the Chicago Sports Podcast Monsters of the Madhouse. I'm Matt Cooper, and we will talk to you guys soon. Thank you guys for watching.
Hit the like button. Sorry, I didn't.